So, came across a video from a couple days ago where a lady was talking about how she had Spotify, and basically she got a notice that each member on her family account needed to verify their address and make sure they were actually at the address for the primary account holder, because they were kind of tightening the rules on it, basically pulling in Netflix. And she then went on to explain how she couldn't finish an audiobook because of the fact she was out of minutes to be able to listen to that. And it's always neat to see when people who don't, I'm not saying she doesn't, but there's people who don't pay attention to the Netflix stuff. They just kind of swipe past it, they ignore it, and then they're just like, this doesn't affect me. And it's like, it's spreading though, right? This started with streaming services, and now it's going to spread to other services as well, and they're each going to have their own little quirks. My recommendation at this point, I'm gonna give you guys some information here, and to anybody that may be in the community that provides fish to the seas, I'll put that way. Please clean up the audio. Take some time if you want. I know you're providing it for free, but take some time to like level out the bit rates. Do we really need audiobooks in 128, 256, and 320 kbps and MP3? And M4B and all that? Can we convert them to MP3s or something? Pick a standard and stick with it. Not to complain, but just, yeah, because the file sizes are pretty big. But if it's done right, they're compressed right, I find 64 kbps tends to be the good bit rate for audio. I know it sounds like a tangent. I'm sorry. If you're going to have audiobooks, you can actually fit a ton of audiobooks on storage with no problem. I mean, having your own complete digital audio library. I think what we're going to have to do collectively as a people with all forms of digital media, audiobooks, movies, music, all of it, is that some of us are going to have to act as stewards to provide content to family members and people we care about that are getting screwed over by this system. I have not seen a call for this. I'm not saying that I'm doing this. I'm not even implying that. I'm just putting ideas out that we need to start acting as stewards for people that don't know any better and feel they have no other options. We need to start providing those options. Be the Robin Hoods, if you will, because these companies are getting to a point where they're going to squeeze as much money as they can out of those who don't know any better. At this point, they're preying on the ignorant in terms of application of law, pricing, fees, all of that. Because those of us that know better, we've already found alternative methods. We already have. When you start looking at things, for those who know, I'll put this phrase out there. When you start realizing that a NAS, that's network attached storage for those of you who don't know those terms, is $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, but that having that is more cost effective than spending on fees, than spending on subscriptions, than spending on movie tickets, these companies are going to lose out. Because if I know I'm going to have to spend $3,000 over the course of the next year, 2 years, whatever it is, in entertainment, I'm going to cut that cost. And it will be in the form of network attached storage. And again, for those who don't know, ask somebody off of this platform what that means. For those that know, though, I think you know where I'm getting us. I don't know why I forgot about that. I was trying to figure out, like, if I need to store a lot of data, let's say I'm editing terabytes and terabytes of video, and I need more than a standard 8 terabyte or 10 terabyte drive. What can I do? And it's like, oh God, I'm so dumb. Now these are expensive. This is something that's fairly expensive, but the option's there. And it's really not out of the question to have this set up. So, again, for those that know, maybe start acting as a steward to those who don't, to make things a little bit easier and provide to people. Because I feel like we're getting into that point now that between just trying to help, it's not like the old world where it's like help your neighbor with food. We're getting to a point where it's going to be like helping each other with digital media as well, because all of our collective art and knowledge is going to be paywalled. Books at this point are becoming difficult to get in digital format. Ebooks are locked behind the platform they're on in most cases. If you don't have your Kindle, you can't use ebooks. If you don't have this, Nook, you can't get books. And print media is fairly expensive. It is. I understand why it is, but it's still fairly expensive. So what are your thoughts on this? I'm sure plenty of people are already doing this. They're already, have stuff in place. If you do, don't say anything here. Obviously, I don't want anybody to incriminate themselves, but don't be the storage unit guy. I'll put it that way. Don't be the storage unit guy. I don't think I am in this case, because I'm not doing anything actively. I'm not, engaged in anything, but I'm definitely looking at it, is what I'll say there. I do have a background in IT, so I know about the technologies of stuffs. And yeah, a NAS or a network attached storage completely slipped my mind. I didn't even think about that. But if you weren't thinking about this before and storage became an issue, because I talked about storing TV shows as an issue, like what do we do if we want to store all these TV shows? Bam, NAS. That's the solution to this. So anyway, what are your thoughts on this? What do you think, guys? And are you currently helping family members? Have you had the discussion with them that yes, legally it's not right to do certain things, but there's certain parts where the rules have to be broken, and it's because the rules are only there to make sure these companies keep making profit, and allows them to be unfair to their customer base. Have you had those conversations yet, or is it just magic to the people you know?